In this video, we have an insane mirror match, Ruby Amethyst versus Ruby Amethyst, but the deck that I'm playing against on Pixelborn is actually the high meta version with the Maleficents, the 8-drop Elsas, and the 8-drop Mickey. I think it's an 8-drop, right? The big Mickey that quests for 4. We're using a in real life deck, the one that I'm building in real life, with Ursula's, Aladdin's, and Dr. Facilier's as our boss monsters. We play a lot of removal, and obviously you see the deck list on screen here. You're going to see this, how effective this deck can be against the expensive version of the deck, and it can definitely still hold its own, and it's good against other decks as well where the other Ruby Amethyst like high meta version actually loses. So let's go ahead and take a look at this insanely long mirror match. So for those of you who are happy to see the deck list, you can thank a person by the name of Marco. He actually donated to me in order to get me to make this video. I was gonna make it eventually, but I just didn't have the time. So Marco, I kind of sped up the process thanks to you. So thank you again. Hopefully the deck list was helpful for you. This deck is constantly being updated. I'm not gonna go over the gameplay of the beginning. It's pretty basic here, but the deck list is being evolved over time as we learn new things, different meta trends. What are the popular decks for your local area? How do you counter it? And so one of the biggest things with this deck is, instead of the expensive Elsa, the 8-drop Elsa, and the 9-drop Maleficents, you're relying a lot more on Be Prepared and a Dragonfire, which is fine. You can definitely get away with that. But the Dr. Facilier is kind of a hit or miss with this deck. And what I mean by that is basically by the time you get up to 7 ink, or if your opponent is in and around 7 or higher, you have to worry about their forms of removal, right? And so the way that you want to use the Dr. Facilier in this build, if you're smart, is you want to like play it where you can get the advantage. So for example, you build up a small board, maybe you have like Aladdin, Maleficent, Rafiki, or some combination of those 3 cards, your big 3 drops, and with that you play your Dr. Facilier, and then you start using those characters, like taking out your opponent's cards or getting them to be bounced back to your hand. So even if that means crashing them, and even though like they're not going to take out the opponent's character, you're just crashing your Aladdin to get it back to your hand, so that you can replay it later and take off 1 lore from the opponent, right? Or get the Maleficent back to your hand so you can replay it and get the draw. The best way to approach and use this deck with the budget version is your Dr. Facilier expected to be taken out next turn. Because like I said, once you're around 7 ink, your opponent is going to have their power cards ready in rotation, most likely. Especially if you're playing against red, they're going to have a Dragonfire or Be Prepared ready to drop on your Dr. Facilier. While it is, a cheap card, it is very effective, and so your opponent will absolutely target it for removal. And it's the same for Ursula, honestly, because they both quest for 3, even though they're not like big threats in terms of like the power that they're constantly able to put out. Like Ursula hits the board, it gets its effect off, and then it's just a big beefy quester for 3, whereas Dr. Facilier, it's a 4/5, so not the strongest, easy to take out if it gets challenged, but they still have to remove it. And so when I play this deck in real life, I just leave the Dr. Facilier. I don't even quest with it, because I just use it to maintain control of the board, right? Your Rafiki is an instant removal spell, your Maui becomes an instant removal spell, and like I said, you can just constantly recurve advantage with the Maleficent this way as well. So what you see us do here is, with the setup with the Cauldron and now the Shield, with the Elsa, this combination earlier game is, or I shouldn't say early game, but mid game is very, very powerful. The opponent does have a leg up on me in the mirror, which I don't play in this build, but you definitely could. It is not that expensive. It's like a $4 card right now as of me making this video, so, September 18th of 2023. $4 Canadian, by the way. But I think that the Shield is definitely something you want to play multiples of. I was playing 2, and then I've upped it to 3, just because it's so valuable for stuff like your Aladdin. Like if your Aladdin gets 2 bodies off the board, you just gain so much advantage off of that. And also the Shield will allow you to quest with the Dr. Facilier, and then ready it back up, so it's not being threatened to be challenged as well. So that's one of the only times I would use the Dr. Facilier to quest with, is if I have the Shield up already. So the Shield is definitely a really good option to play. And here you can see the opponent. We're kind of getting into like the mid-late game, and what happens in these control matches is absolutely insane. But the opponent drops their Elsa, so we're already on 8 ink, and I'm thinking pretty long and hard here. The opponent is keeping my characters tapped for 2 turns, but I think I'm going to have to keep my Elsa safe. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, no, I'm just going to Dragonfire away. Okay. I am at risk of getting Rafiki'd, though. My Elsa's getting Rafiki'd. And the Elsa combination mid-game of the shield and Elsa, you know, you tap Elsa to tap the opponent's monster, and then you just ready up your Elsa to protect it with the shield. And so they're forced to use removal spells on your Elsa if they want to try to take it out. But yeah, you can see here, just with the small amount of control we have on board, just board presence-wise, we're still controlling the match. The opponent... In this mirror match, I like, there are some cases where the magic mirror is like, honestly, like the deciding factor, but here it's not really doing anything, because when you have a decent setup, your opponent is going to have a really tough time playing through that, because they have to constantly spend their ink on their actual cards, and they're very unlikely to get utility off of the magic mirror. So with this, you're going to see right here, the Dr. Facilier gets dropped, which is probably a misplay, because if they had Dragonfire, they just take it out right away. Now the opponent plays their own shield, and they're just going to quest with the with the Elsa, not Ursula, and then ready it back up so it can't be challenged, which makes sense. And then they're just going to, I think, hard cast. Oh, no, they sung that song, the Friends on the Other Side. And then they draw again off of Magic Mirror. So despite them having all this advantage, we're still keeping up with them, and this is exactly what I mean. This is the turn I should have dropped the Dr. Facilier when I knew that I could get some utility off of it, because if the opponent did have the Dragonfire for it, I wouldn't have got any of this utility off. So you can see, you know, the opponent ended up playing spells to draw cards or using their Magic Mirror, whereas we just regained the card advantage off the Dr. Facilier. And like I said, when it hits the board, you can expect it to survive for basically one turn, so get your advantage off of this card the turn you play it. If it ends up surviving for longer than that, then hey, that's just pure advantage. You're going to see me here not overcommit on the board, because in these purple-red control mirrors, you have to assume the opponent is on the Be Prepared. They've got the Ursula's Cauldron, they've got the draw power, they definitely have at least one copy of it, especially if you haven't seen them be used yet in the match. So you don't want to overcommit into a board just for it to get blown up by the Be Prepared. And I think at this point the opponent is playing the third Elsa, which, you know, if you were playing this in real life, that's how much money, like 150 bucks, which is crazy. But hey, some people got it. We're not willing to splurge just yet, but hey, we're getting the job done still. So we're going to continue to ink because, hey, we've got so many cards. And at this point, I'm actually considering, like, the opponent is drawing so much and this game is being dragged out so much, and we still have, you know, the Dragonfires and the Be Prepared to go through on both players' sides. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to like a deck out at this point, right? So you're going to see me here, you know, I lose my Dr. Facilier, but you're going to see me here use Friends to continue to draw. And then I just want to get the Elsa and the Zeus off the field because the opponent now built up board presence. We have a lot of cards in hand. They've only got 5 now. And card advantage at this point is not a problem for either player. It's just about who can exert the most amount of pressure. So you can see that we always have the removal spells ready to go in hand just in case a big threat comes down, because at this point in the game you are expecting the threats to hit. So we're going to go ahead and Dragonfire away the opponent's Aladdin, and then we're going to quest for 2 with our own Aladdin. And no need to ready up, not that we have the ink to do it anyways, but the opponent has the Dragonfire, the removal spell anyways, which you count on. They have either Be Prepared or Dragonfire, right? So the opponent continues to dig through their deck. We continue to top deck the Aladdin, and this is one of the reasons why you may not want to play like too many Rafikis and Mauis, is because when you actually need that questing power, if your power cards get blown through very quickly, like your Ursulas, your Aladdins, and your Dr. Faciliers in this case, if those get outed multiple times, like you can see here, every turn the opponent has Dragonfires for me every turn. I'm running out of like things that I'm actually going to win the game with, right, in terms of questers. So the opponent then plays Pocket Watch, which is a good card and an addition that I've made to my deck. And the reason you play Pocket Watch is because when you get Pocket Watch and Shield on field in the grind game, especially when you have the Elsa on board, if you play against anything other than red, it's really, really tough to deal with. I mean, yeah, some other colors have removal, like Let It Go and Hades for blue, and Mother Knows Best and Genie for green, and stuff like that. But you can play your Aladdin, use Pocket Watch for 1 more ink, and then use your Aladdin right away to swing in. And if you get that combination off, it's very devastating for the opposing player, because they don't expect the Aladdin to be dropped and get rush in the same turn, and then you just saw right there, Aladdin gain 2 lore and then make your opponent lose 2 lore. So this deck is really a control deck, not just for draw control, but just also controlling like the lore aspects of the game. You can see there we clawed back the loss from the Aladdin. We did have to trade Aladdins, but we're keeping the opponent on low lore, and we're threatening game with our big body. So I'm expecting, yeah, more removal to be dropped here. And this is where playing the Maleficents late game, because we're basically at late game now. This is where playing the Maleficents can really come in clutch, is because obviously being a 9-drop, it's only going to be played late game, and it's going to just threaten whatever other big body your opponent has on the board, assuming that it can be chosen, right? But thankfully we have the Elsa combination, and with Elsa plus Maui, there you can see some more synergy with the 2 colors and the decks. And at this point, I think this is the opponent's 4th Elsa. So wow, they double tap us. We're going to go ahead and use Cauldron. Of course, we're going to get the other Maleficent. No point in drawing the second Cauldron, really. I mean, there is some potential utility, but not really. We're just going to go ahead and ready up our Aladdin, though, with the shield, and then just Dragonfire the way the Elsa. This was probably a mistake. Actually, no, it's not, because Elsa does quest for 3. So yeah, you do want to get that off the board. But technically saving the Dragonfire for another Aladdin, or yeah, I guess Maleficent doesn't really matter. But definitely saving it for an Aladdin there would have been good, because if the opponent has Pocket Watch and they have 9 ink, if they had Aladdin and they dropped it and Pocket Watched it, then they can swing it to the Elsa that I have tapped, that I left tap on board, and then just claw back more advantage, right? Make me lose lore, they could gain lore. So you always have to be aware of these aspects of the metagame. So at this point now, with the opponent's Maleficent, I commit a little bit to a board, make them lose another lore, draw a card. At this point, if the Dragonfire gets dropped, I'm not feeling too worried. So the opponent, though, this is what's really strong when you leave the Maleficent on board. They can just quest, ready, and then sing the song, and they still have like a ton of ink to work with. And yeah, they're going to drop another Magic Mirror, which is crazy. We top deck the Ursula, and we're absolutely going to play that and draw 1, make them lose another lore, opt to take the 7-drop Facilier off the top, and pass over to the opponent. So now we're threatening almost game here. The opponent still has to deal with this Ursula. I think they've gone through all of their Dragonfires, or just 3 of them maybe there, and like 1 or 2 Be Prepareds already. So they have no answer for Ursula. We're going to quest for 3. We're on 18 now, and then we just ready up the Ursula. And I don't think I dropped the Dr. Facilier because I don't want to risk yeah, getting another Be Prepared here. So I just pass with just the Ursula and put you on. Yeah, you need to wipe your whole board. You need to play that. I'm forcing you to play the Be Prepared now, and now you're just down to 2 cards. You had to put some stuff on the board as well, so I'm in total control of this match. I can just flood the board with a couple of things. The odds that they would have and or draw into another Be Prepared at this point, if they even play 4, is still kind of unlikely. So I drop both the Rafiki and the Dr. Facilier and pass. The opponent still can't go for game, and they have the other Maleficent. So you can see, like, these are really expensive cards, right? Maleficent's like 50, 60 bucks or something, at least right now. And this with the Elsas, that easily puts you over, like, I don't know, 400 or 500 bucks for the deck. 400 bucks maybe, not 500, but it's very expensive. And you can see here, yes, it is good. There's a reason why it's considered the best deck of the format right now, but you can see that we're holding our own, right? The Dr. Facilier combinations, again, not the strongest, but it can definitely put enough pressure on the opponent, and if you play smart, you can definitely use it to your advantage. Not only just for questing and re-readying, but just, you know, like I said, playing it and then using your cards to kind of bounce them back to hand, essentially challenging. You saw me challenge the Elsa 3 times, bounce all 3 of those cards back to hand. And honestly, it's plays like that that win you the game, because I generated that card advantage, because I was constantly taking away lore from the opponent. You can see that we put up a lot of pressure, and we kept the opponent on low resource while we were able to slowly chip away for game by questing for lore here, right? And so I just drop another Dr. Facilier, and now I'm going to put you on. You have to Dragonfire. You have to Dragonfire both of them, which you can't because you've already used 3. And or have your 4th Be Prepared at this point, I think. Or did they already use 4? Oh no, okay, that's probably the 4th one. So imagine using Be Prepared on a couple of like weenies, right? Like 3-drop Maleficent, that's a draw card, and a Dr. Facilier. It feels really bad. We're on 19, and at this point, the 1/2/2 questers, in this case Archimedes, can actually go for game here. No real need to put something else on board, but I'm like, oh yeah, they probably don't have any more Be Prepared. They could have more Maleficents, but they won't have enough resources to deal with what we have here. And I think they actually deck out before we're able to quest for game here. So yeah, they're like drawing with their mirrors. Okay, oh my god. Okay, so they only, yeah, so I guess that has to be the 4th Be Prepared now. And they have nothing left in their deck at this point, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I hovered over the deck animation there to reveal how many cards were left in their deck, but again, we're just threatening game with 1 small body on board. And if the opponent has no cards, they automatically lose. So maybe it's this turn they force themselves to draw off of like Magic Mirror and lose the game. But again, without playing brooms and stuff like that, you have no more resources left. You have nothing left to quest with. So, you know, even if you didn't deck out, I mean, I guess if you didn't deck out, you'd have more resources in your deck. But even if you didn't lose to deck out, let's say, and you could play with what you have on board and in hand and stuff, they would still lose because like they don't have enough pressure on board. They don't have any more boss monsters. They've gone through 4 Elsas, like 3 or 4 Maleficents. Yeah, you can see here, we just quest, oh no, we haven't quested yet, but did the opponent resign? Oh, maybe not. We're dropping the Be Prepared. Okay, I think I'm showing my opponent now what I have in my hand. Yeah, this is just unnecessary. We put up the Tibbs for game. Okay, if the last turn wasn't it, it has to be this turn now, where they just make themselves lose because of the Magic Mirror. There's the 4th Dragonfire on a Tibbs. Wow, I was taking a yawn there. Like you can see here, they have 0 cards left in their deck, and the Shield was the last card, with Archimedes being their last character. So, yeah, that was a long one, but it was a deck out victory. So that does happen with these mirror match controls, or control mirror matches. But if you like that video, drop a like, and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.